in Change Americas at Stanford University's Graduate School of Business. He has taught courses in leadership, interpersonal dynamics, and organizational development in Change and the MBA in executive programs. He directed the school's executive program on leading and managing change for 16 years. He has received numerous awards, and I will go over that, including being the outstanding alumnus here at UTEP this year. But as a student of organizational change, he's worked with numerous clients around the country. And his well-known book with Dr. Jake Collins is Built to Last, and it's really a wonderful book to be referenced.
Is that the 10 chapter or 11?
This is the 11 chapter one.
You've got chapter 11.
Yeah, this one is chapter 11.
They messed up the cover. They made it not as attractive as the first one.
Is that right? I would love to have the first one. But anyway, we're really pleased to have him here to speak to us. I wanted, before he starts speaking, I wanted everyone at the table to introduce themselves very briefly so that he knows who's present. And so we'll start here.
Sure, my name's Peter. I work with Elsa at the other end of the table.
My cousin. My other cousin.
I'm Alex Gonzalez. I work as an ambassador here and full-time student in senior mechanical engineering.
Hi, my name is Ruben Barrientos. I'm also an engineering ambassador and currently a civil engineering student, and I'm a senior.
I'm Melissa Cheboyan. I direct the College of Science Office of Undergraduate Research Initiatives, soon to be the Center of Undergraduate Research Initiatives.
Good. That's a name.
I'm Rick O'Brien. I'm a clinical professor in the College of Engineering. I've been doing that for 2 years now. And otherwise, I'm a business coach.
Hello, I'm Victor Gonzalez, and I'm a hybrid tutor. I work for the College of Engineering, and I'm a senior electrical engineer.
I'm April Rivera. I'm the Internal Operations Chair of the Engineering Student Leadership Council, and I'm a junior mechanical engineer.
Hi, my name is Andrea Tiras. I work with Dr. Gates in the Office of Research and Sponsored Projects, and I'm also dedicating part of my time to the IQ grant.
My name is Gabby Donda. I'm the Director of Engineering Student Services. Part of that is taking care of the engineering ambassadors, overseeing and what they do is they're our forefront in developing relationships with P12 constituents.
And I'm the other half of you.
Sounds like a marriage.
And then there's two in back that you need to come around.
I'm Fernando Cervantes. I'm a senior at computer science undergraduate. I'm graduating this December. And
you're looking for a job.
Yeah, I'm trying to do it right now.
And I'm Yolanda Holt, and I'm Jerry Porras' older sister. And I'm also a graduate of UTEP, and I'm glad to be here. I'm very impressed.
Hi, I'm Griselda Espinosa. I'm a senior in computer science, and I'm the student advocate of CASI.
I'm Claudia Casas. I'm the CASI program leader.
Hello, I'm Patricia Esparza. I'm a master's student in computer science, and I work for CASI and the IQ grant.
Okay, hello, I'm Ivan Gris, master's student in computer science. I'm the president of the IEEE CSLE organization, which is hosting the event, and I work at the Cybershare Center.
My name is Julio Lano, I'm a PhD student in computer science. I'm working at the Cybershare Center as a research assistant.
Rodrigo Romero, I'm the assistant director of the Cybershare Center.
I'm
just going to move the microphone. I'm Victor Gameros. I'm working on the IT.
You're the man. Nice to meet you.
And I am Javier Garcia. I'm a system specialist at the Visualization Center for the Cybershare Center, and I work for Dr. Gates and Dr. Romero.
And I'm Ann Gates, for those of you that don't know me. I'm the Associate Vice President for Research, Professor of Computer Science. Before we started, I wanted to have Yvonne talk a little bit about the IEEE Computer Society Lead Student Chapter so that you can give a context for this organization.
Okay. So, really briefly, the IEEE Computer Society Lead Chapter, it means leadership, entrepreneurship, and professional development. So what we try to do is we try to bridge the gap between business and engineering. That's some of Mark, especially here. And we do a lot of things. We try to bring speakers, give talks, try to do this in a more interactive way. We try to work on making workshops, participating in several projects like doing the project with the IBM people for the Smarter Planet. They were here a couple of weeks ago. And, basically that's what we try to do to develop not only entrepreneurial skills, but also all those types of skills, including communication and leadership, that are going to be useful regardless if you're going to go into making your own business or just climbing up the ladder any company. So,
thank you. And so I wanted Dr. Porras to talk to us a little bit. For those of you that were at his talk yesterday, he talked a lot about vision, core purpose, core values, and the importance of having that to drive successful organizations. And so I wanted him to talk a little bit more about that, just as a conversational description about why that's important, especially when he's looking at students as they're developing in a program, whether it's undergraduate or graduate program. And then we're going to open it up for questions. I want you to get some of the questions that you would like answered. So this is meant to be a conversation, and so I'd like him to lead this discussion.
So I'll try to keep my comments brief so we can have a conversation. It was quite interesting for me after having done the Built to Last research and having discovered some key ingredients to what makes companies that are really great companies over a very long time period, 100 years. What makes them that way? What do they do that is different from other companies that just last 100 years? And in doing that research, there were some factors that came out, and I talked about several of them yesterday, but specifically the idea of having a purpose to the organization and having a set of core values that really mean something, that guide your behavior, that you're willing to live through no matter whether you suffer in some way as an organization for doing so. And then the third component is having a really stretching, audacious, fantastically exciting goal that the company is following and that people get excited about wanting to make that happen. And that if you get those three things together, then you've got something that we're calling vision. And this was our effort to use data to drive a definition of vision rather than just what's kind of commonly accepted as what vision is. And that commonly accepted is not a very common thing, by the way, when you talk to people about what vision is. People have different views of it.
So, Jerry, what were those three things again?
There were the purpose of the organization. Why does it exist? And this we discovered is beyond maximizing profits. These companies did not exist to do that. But interestingly enough, when they pursued their purpose and did it really effectively, they made more money than people who focused on making a lot of money by a big factor. So that was sort of part number one. Part number two is a small set, we found between 3 to 5 in the companies we studied, of core values, which were values that the organization lived even though it suffered for doing so. So you lose money, you lose a customer, you lose a potential project, but you're going to do it because if you did it, you're going to reject that. If you did it, you'd lose your core value, you'd violate your core value. And then the third part is what we call the big, hairy, audacious goal, but in more common vernacular, it's a really stretching, exciting goal that you achieve. And once you achieve it, then you set another one. And that the goals that you set are guided by what the purpose is. So each goal has to move you toward your purpose. And what the core values do is they limit what these goals are, because you don't want to set a goal and try to achieve it that will create behaviors that violate the core values. And the example I used yesterday was Enron, that set these incredible, stretching financial goals. And in order to achieve them, people have to start doing illegal things. And their core value, their number one core value is integrity. So that's an example of saying that you believe in integrity, but when you live it, you're not living it.
And there was an example in the book about quality being a core value, or an organization that took it out as being a core value. What was the reasoning? Quality. Many people will say quality is a core value.
Well, there was another interesting finding that relates to your question, and that is that there was not one single core value that we discovered across the 18 companies that we studied that was held in common by all 18. So you think quality, customer service, customer focus, innovation, internal entrepreneurship. I mean, all these things, integrity, honesty. Think that those would all be core values of really fantastic companies, but they weren't. A goodly number had integrity in there, but not all of them, not even half of them. So the learning, so what does that mean? What's the learning out of that? The learning is, for us, that it doesn't make any difference what your core values are. What's important is that you have core values and you live them. And that these core values don't ever change. You may make a mistake and violate them, but they should never change. And we've tracked the history of these companies, and the core values were introduced early on in the life of these companies, and continued on. And every now and then they drift away from them. They do something stupid, but then they come back to them.
And Peter, you had a real good example you shared with me a couple of days ago about the director of the Boston Museum of Science. And talking. So that's an example. If you could share that story. I was sharing it with Jerry earlier this morning, but it's your story, so I need to let you tell it. And I think it's a real good example of what Jerry is saying about core value and how you don't violate it if it's an authentic value.
We're very excited because next month, I believe it's December the 5th, Ionis, who goes by Giannis, a bit like Rennie and Rennie, is coming down here to visit us and give a lecture, and it'll be inspiring like your one yesterday, Jerry. And Giannis is the director of the Boston Museum of Science and has driven engineering curriculum into the early childhood, elementary, middle and high school education in Massachusetts. He's just been a giant in the nation in terms of advancing engineering education for young people. And he was telling Richard Chapoistra and myself at a conference he was at, he was like you yesterday giving a lecture, and he told everybody, somebody asked him how he ended up at the Boston Museum of Science, and he explained that he was the Dean of Engineering at Tufts University, and they were having a campaign, something like we have here at UTEP at the moment. And he had a big donor come in and lay on the table a checkbook and say he was going to write a very large check, and asked Giannis, what do you want to do with the money? And Giannis told him that he wanted to invest it in education for young people because that's where we weren't having an impact when we needed to make an impact. And the donor got quite upset and said, what the hell, you're a university, what the hell are you doing trying to change education in that area? And that was a powerful experience for Giannis, and he actually refused the money and resigned from the dean's position. Those two weren't related, and decided that he could make a greater impact by moving on to be director of the Boston Museum of Science.
Yeah, well, that to me is an example that when core values are espoused by a company or any organization, that they're just words, and they're meaningless unless behavior is consistent with those values. That really values are conveyed and taught in an organization through the behavior of everyone in the organization, but very importantly with the leaders. So if the leaders are saying, we value this, and then they behave in ways that are contradictory to that, then people read these. You know that word, that value is just worthless. So talk is cheap. It's really cheap, and actions are expensive. And until you see the actions, you can't believe the words. So when I deal with managers, I say, look, this is a tough road you're thinking of going down. That if you think you want to establish a set of values which you think your organization stands for, then you're going to have to live up to them. And you're going to have to be consistent with it. And if you're not, you're going to do the worst thing you could do for your organization, and that's create cynicism. People see a CEO or a senior level person saying one thing and behaving in contradiction to that. Everyone gets cynical. And cynicism destroys organizational effectiveness more than anything. People need to really believe in what they're doing. They need to believe that what they're doing is important, and the way they're doing it is important. And if they stop believing that, then you're going to get sort of marginal contribution to the organization. So this is a tough road to walk if you decide that you're going to walk it as a leader, because you're going to be held to the line. People can see it, and even the lowliest person will be able to see it in the organization. People are not stupid, and they can read what's happening. So it's an important commitment that gets made by an organization to say these are our values and these are our core values, which means that they're very fundamental and we're not going to change them no matter what. And then not live consistently with them. So that's a real challenge. So it's those three components which we call the vision of the organization. Now, interestingly enough, I was involved in another research project that resulted in a book that came out about, I guess it's been 3 years now, called Success Built to Last, Creating a Life That Matters. The focus of that book was individuals. Now, this book was focused on organizations and what makes great organizations great. The second book was focused on individuals and what makes their lives, or how do they go about building their lives so that they've had a meaningful impact on the world in which they operate. So it's kind of a comparable study, except at the individual level rather than at the organizational level. We found one of the things that I want to emphasize in that study that I think is related to this is that what we found is that people had a passion. And this is a bit comparable to purpose, but not exactly comparable. But they had a passion. So I'd like to emphasize that because all of you are individuals who are kind of early in your careers and you're thinking about, what do I do to build a life that means something? I think that few of us would like to build a life that doesn't matter. If you want to build a life that doesn't matter, raise your hand. We all want to build a life that makes a difference at some level. And the people we studied, some of them were, the Dalai Lama and Mandela and President Carter. So, these are people who have made a difference at a really global level, and everybody knows them. And that's kind of one end of the continuum of people that were studied. At the other end of the continuum, my favorite example is a woman who was a prostitute drug addict in San Francisco. And she was on the streets of San Francisco, and she was in her early 30s. And she had been down this path of drugs and prostitution for over 10 years. And it was she tells the story that it was a foggy night, and those of you who've been in San Francisco know that's a lot of nights. And she was standing on a street corner, and she said to herself that either I'm going to change my life or I'm going to commit suicide. And so that was her choice. So what she, good for her, decided to do was to change her life. So she cleaned herself up, and she got out of prostitution, and then she decided that what she wanted to do was to create an organization that would help women like her. Women to get clean if they were addicts, and to get out of prostitution, and then expanded to helping women who were abused in whatever way. And so she set up an organization that did that. Well, she's not world known, but she sure is known in that part of San Francisco, and she sure has made a big difference. And that's because she discovered what she was passionate about. And she discovered it in a very difficult way. I wouldn't advise anybody to pay those costs to discover what your passion is. But she did discover it, and then she acted on it.
and she built a life that really made a difference. So I think as you all are starting, you're more than just starting, you're on your way, that it's really, I think, an important thing to focus on, well, what are you passionate about? And that's not an easy thing to answer, an easy question to answer for yourselves. But it's one that I think you should struggle with. And I believe that in what we found in our study was that it wasn't what other people were passionate about and were telling you that you should be passionate about. It was what you really are passionate about. And then finding ways to pursue that passion. And not letting other people tell you, well, you can never earn any money that way, or you'll never be successful at doing it. Because the people we studied often got that message from everyone around them. But they still pursued their passion. And as a result of that, really built lives that made a difference, not only to the communities that they operated in, but they made a big difference to themselves. So I think that's the beginning of entrepreneurship, if you're thinking about entrepreneurship, is pursuing what you're passionate about and then finding a way to create an organization that somehow is able to generate resources, whether it's money, if you're in a business, you have to make a profit, or whether it's donations because you're a nonprofit, but you find a way to make it happen. But if you don't have that passion, and if you're just sort of doing it for other reasons, and the worst reason in the world, as far as I can tell from the results of the study, was to do something for money. Interestingly enough, it was the worst reason for doing things, because we came across a lot of people who were very wealthy, but very unhappy. And they were not settled in themselves. They didn't feel all that good about themselves. They just made a lot of money. And making money was, at that point, after they made a lot of it, was sort of trivial to them. And they still were kind of looking for what makes a difference for them. So they kind of wasted their whole lives pursuing money. And in the end, it really didn't give them the satisfaction of feeling good about themselves that they thought it would. On the other hand, we found in our study, we found people who were very wealthy, but every single one of them said that they were pursuing what they were passionate about, and the money came. So it was a consequence of pursuing and really living your passion instead of the focus of their passion, the focus of what they were trying to do. So if they followed the passion, the money came. If they followed the money, sometimes they made the money, but then they didn't feel very satisfied and accomplished after it was all over. So it's easy to be seduced by money, and we can see it all around us. And I was just having a conversation at lunch about intercollegiate athletics and the formation of all these conferences, and UTEP conference may go with another conference. And why do it? Well, they're doing it for the money. Well, it's seductive. Money's very seductive. But in the end, all you have is the money, and you don't have much of a sense of really having contributed something, which I think from the study, it says that that's what's important for people who make a difference. And so keep that sort of as an exercise for yourself. You've got to find out what it is. You don't already know it. Find out what it is for you. And then the process of figuring out ways to turn that passion into something that can support you at a minimal level, but later on provide the sort of contribution that you really want to make. So let me put it that point.
What I like about your example, Terry, too, is that with the prostitute and the drugs, the person who was doing that, is that it's never too late to change and begin anew. I remember seeing an elevator in a hotel in Houston. Never seen this before, but the hotel door shut. And, normally you've got a blank door. I mean, this had a piece of glass and behind it etched in a lovely frame with sayings. So I started writing the elevators to see what was in each of the doors. But the best one was the first one that I saw, which said, while no one can go back and make a new beginning, everyone can start now to create a brand new ending. And for me, that's been, very helpful and powerful.
Yeah.
And I'd say that to all our students.
Yeah.
Every morning you wake up is a new opportunity to recommence, being passionate about whatever it is.
Exactly. I think that's exactly right.
I started, I guess it was my second semester of teaching. I started requiring all my students to work on their elevator statements right away. And the formula for the elevator statement is real simple. My name is, thank you for asking, my name is, currently I'm doing this, but I'm looking for this because, and then that's where you fill in with your passion. And I find that that's the hardest thing for them to figure out because they're young, they don't have that much exposure to what to get passionate about. They have a passion, but they're not quite sure. With your experience, can you help us with helping them get closer to their passion rather than waiting for 10 years down the road to say, I finally found it?
Yeah. Well, I think the key is to keep looking for it. Just always look for your passion, and not just kind of slide through life, living every day and taking care of whatever needs to be done that day, and then going to the next day and repeating that. So I think looking for something to be passionate about and looking for an opportunity to get into something that you think you're going to be passionate about and finding out. Because you might think you're going to be passionate about it, but once you start doing it, it's not that grabbing to. So I think the key place to begin is to really tell yourself that today I'm looking for my passion, and say that the next day and the next day, and sooner or later I think you'll bump across it. I think the second thing is to really be open to stuff that comes out of left field. That taking risks in life is really a key to successful life. If you never take a risk, I think you're going to wind up leading a fairly simplified and in a lot of ways dull life. So taking a risk is I think an important part of being successful and continuing to grow. Because when you take a risk, you're growing. If you're learning something new and that's risky for you, that's growth. But also doors can open up that you never thought about, that you never considered.
That's one of the skills when we talk about entrepreneurial thinking. Is being a risk taker.
Yeah. Well, let me give you a very personal example. Okay, so Charlene, it's my wife, and I are living in Phoenix, Arizona. I started out in life as an engineer, electrical engineer. And I was working at that time for GE, and GE had a process computer control operation in Phoenix. And so I was working there, and then I decided that I wanted to go to night school and get an MBA because I was more interested in the managers and what managers did. I knew nothing about businesses. So I did that for a year and a half, and then Charlotte got pregnant, and the baby was coming, and I said, well, I was working like I don't know how many hours a week, and then on top of that I was going to school and studying, so it was really a very totally taken up life. And I said, our son, we didn't know our son, it was going to be a son, but our child is going to be born, and I would like to be able to spend some time with that person, and so either I'm going to quit work and go to school full time, or I'm going to quit school and just work. So we talked about it, and so we jointly decided that I was going to quit work and we were going to go to school full time. So I applied to Harvard MBA, I applied to Stanford MBA, I applied to Arizona State MBA. I got rejected by Harvard, I got rejected by Stanford, I got accepted by Arizona State. So we're living in Phoenix, we're going to go to Arizona State. So we made all these arrangements, I leased an apartment right near where the university was. I got financial aid all set up. We're all set and wired to go. And then our son Rick was born in June, and school was supposed to start in September. So in July, I get a call from a friend of our family. Childhood advice. Sure, Yolanda, you're my sister back there. Anyway, he was a friend of our family, and he said, I understand you're going to get an MBA. I said, yes. He said, have you thought of going to Cornell? I said, Cornell? So, it's an Ivy League school, so it's in the East someplace. So I said, nope, I hadn't thought about it. He said, well, he's out a friend who's